I mean, if I was them, fuck. I mean, you already got your nuclear sites bombed. You've gotten all of your air stuff destroyed. You've gotten your entire leadership killed multiple times over. At what point is enough enough? Because it's not like, I mean, at this point, it's like they can basically guarantee that if we don't play ball, we're literally going to die. Doesn't MSM, Trump regime hate MSM? It seems so useful to them to advocate when they want to address the nation. Well, yeah, Trump has always dealt with the mainstream media, even though he's been adversarial with them. Yeah, that's true, of course.
On a phrase you just word, weaponization ambitions. Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build a
point
weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessment.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Are these people lying and fucking you around? Okay, they're okay. So if you find out they're lying and fucking you around, and they're fucking you around and lying to you in the nature of something that's building nuclear weapons, what is the conclusion to that? Well, it's because they're probably trying to build nuclear weapons.
No,
it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bear?
Fucking exactly. Like, we need an order to be sure that all of the different actions they're taking. Yes, exactly.
Why would you bury? It doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium?
Oh, God, bro. I've been waiting on this. Ooh, I've been waiting on this for a while. Oh, my God. Holy shit. Thank God. Finally.
You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons.
Right.
Oh, wow, what a surprise. Wow, what are the odds? Bro's not playing? Yeah.
Can you quickly make it 90? They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No.
You think you're gonna go to the moon? Bro, it's like, and you see that, like, whenever this shit's laid out in front of you, how fucking stupid it sounds.
They're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but that's a question. That's a question. That's a question of intent, and you know, in the intelligence.
Oh my God, where do these? Jesus, he's demolishing her. What the fuck? Yes, thank God.
Assessment that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold state and use this leverage. I'm talking about the public March assessment, and that's what I was asking you if you know something more from that.
That's also an inaccurate representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Forget about intelligence.
Jesus Christ, bro. Oh my God, I love this. This is amazing.
Those guys are about to shoot at us.
What the IAEA knows, they are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear
So
program.
why? Yeah. So she just immediately agrees on this. You immediately agree on this, but you want to pretend like the. Oh my God.
So why would you enrich uranium at 60% if you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon?
Right.
Why are you developing ICBM? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these
guys?
They have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanisms, they have the enrichment capability, they have the highly enriched uranium that is stored.
Yeah.
That's all we need to see.
Right. Well, and
That's it. Yeah. Fucking obvious. Bro, the intelligence said they couldn't find evidence of nukes. That's not the same as finding evidence of no nukes. What the fuck do these people not understand? Well, it's that they're building the uranium. That's it. Well, why does anyone have nuclear weapons then? Because they work. Duh.
The regime that's already involved in terrorism and proxies and all kinds of things around. They are the source of all.
Yes,
this
and no one's
stability in the Middle East.
disputing. No one's disputing that. I'm not doing that here.
No one's disputing that Iran is causing all the problems over there. No one's disputing that Iran is funding terrorist organizations. No one's disputing that they're enriching uranium to 60%. But somehow, we're supposed to pretend like they weren't trying to build a bomb. Right.
And they were censured at the IAEA for that enrichment and for violating their non-proliferation agreement. I was simply asking if we had intelligence.
And remember, oh, but now they're going to leave the non-proliferation agreement, guys. Oh, no. Well, wait. If we bomb them, they're going to leave the agreement they weren't following. Oh, God, guys, imagine what happens then. I can't believe people react to videos and they just let it play while they're gone. Like, why the fuck would anybody, like, isn't that like that's so embarrassing, right? That, like, people just want to watch it. They don't even care about you. Like, it's crazy.
That there was an order to weaponize, because you said weaponization ambition.
Well, we have intelligence that they have everything they need to build a nuclear weapon, and that's more than enough.
Yep.
Okay. I want to ask you on the policy front. There are personnel throughout the Middle East from the United States, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, and other bases. If those countries are attacked by Iran because of their association with the United States, will the United States defend them?
Maybe.
Well, that's exactly why they're there. That's a great point, actually. You know why we have bases in Bahrain and Qatar and UAE and all these places? All of those bases are there because those countries are afraid that Iran will attack them. If Iran was not a threat to the region, if the Iranian regime, because I'm talking about the Iranian people, the regime was not a threat to the region, we wouldn't have to have any of these bases. Those bases are there because those countries are petrified.
He's totally fucking cooking there. This is brutal. Jesus.
That the Iranian Shia clerics that run that country will attack their country.
Will the United
As you
States
know, they've
defend
got a
them?
very difficult history.
What is this? It's not a nuke because of disassembled logic she's using? It's just stupid.
That's why we're there. That's why we're there.
So,
but
yes,
they'll
we
attack
will
us,
defend
is
them.
what they're threatening to do. So we'll defend our people, obviously. We'll defend our people. Well, they'll attack our bases. And those are our bases, and we're going to defend our personnel, and we're prepared to do that. But we'll do more than just defend. We'll impose costs on Iran if they attack American personnel, whether they do it directly or whether they do it through some of these proxies that they try to hide behind. And that includes the Houthis. So another proxy of theirs. So, but let's hope they don't choose that route. Let's all hope that they actually decide, okay, let's go negotiate, because we want a diplomatic and peaceful solution. We have achieved our objective. We're ready to negotiate this in a peaceful, diplomatic way. We've been prepared to do that for days. They are the ones that played games, as they have done for 40 years.
This is the woman who said free speech is one of the reasons why Nazis got into power in World War II. Yeah, you have to keep in mind that these people are they exist to actively subvert everything. I think these people actively exist to subvert American goals. They actively dislike America, and they work against the best interest of the country and the country's people on a regular basis. These people are not your allies. These people are not on your side. They are actively working against you.
Years, as they have done to multiple presidents. They tried to play games with President Trump, and they see what happens. This is not a game-playing president. When he says he's going to do something, he will do it.
I hear you saying here you want to de-escalate when you are talking about diplomacy. You are looking for Iran to pick up that offer that was put on the table you mentioned by Steve Witkoff. Can you just clarify, does that mean the U.S. would still allow for Iran to have a civilian nuclear program if it does not enrich on its own soil?
But that's never been an issue. There's countries all over the world that have a civil nuclear program. No one here is saying that Iran can't. Sure, that's always been there. Any country in the world has a right to have a civil nuclear program. What they don't have a right to do is to enrich it at 60%, hide it under.
So they're still even willing to let them have a civil nuclear program? And they couldn't come to a deal? After that? Well, that seems very interesting.
Mountain
I
and
wonder
develop
why.
long-range and short-range and mid-range missiles and sponsor terrorist proxies all
yeah,
over
it's
the
very
world. They don't have a
generous.
right to do that. And that's what they've been doing. And no one's dealt with it. And it's continued to linger. And they've played games with multiple presidents and multiple countries around the world, and they've gotten away with it for 40-something years. This is very simple. The president wants to resolve this diplomatically and peacefully. He gave them a chance to do that. They delayed. They had all these kind of delay tactics. They wouldn't even meet with us directly. We had to go through third countries. This is very simple. Let's meet directly. Let's work on agreements that we can, that are good
You
for
see,
Iran.
they were playing games, bro. They were playing games the entire time.
Good for the Iranian people in particular, good
Yep.
for the safety and security of the world and the United States. That's always been our preference. That continues to be our preference. But they're the ones that were playing games with us. And these are the consequences. We had to achieve those objectives. We had 3 objectives yesterday: Bordeaux, Natanz, and Esfahan.
Iran just said they're going to decide the timing, nature, and the scale of its response against the U.S. message. For sure, guys. Yeah.
We conducted a brilliant military operation under the command of President Trump, and obviously great credit to Secretary Hegseth and General Kurilla and General Kane and all the airmen and the phenomenal people in the U.S. military. No other military in the world could have done this.
No, it
We've
was
achieved those
astounding.
objectives. What happens next is up to the regime. Okay,
Yeah.
the regime wants peace. We're ready for peace.
Okay.
They want to do something else. They're incredibly vulnerable. They can't even protect their own airspace.
Well, clearly they could
Obviously.
not. But
Yeah.
what is the U.S. assessment of how much nuclear material at those sites was moved prior to the attack? There has been talk for days about bombing of Fordow.
Well, look, we don't. No one will know for sure for days, but I doubt they moved it because you really can't move anything right now, and they can't move anything right now inside of Iran. I mean, the minute a truck starts driving,
Can't they read radiation signals from like satellites? I'm pretty sure they can, right? Yes. Okay, so then they would know if it got moved. Yeah, because they could see it, right? It's underground? Yeah, but they would have to take it. No, the satellite photos are of the ground. So if the material was transported, then they would have been able to see it.
somewhere the Israelis have seen it and they've targeted it and taken it out. So our assessment is we have to assume that that's a lot of 60% enriched uranium buried deep under the ground there in Esfahan.
Yeah.
And that really is the key. What they should do with that is they should bring it out of the ground and turn it over. Multiple countries around the world will take it and downblend it. That's what they should do with that. And what they should do is say, we're not going to have any enrichment capability in our country. Instead, what we're going to have is a civil nuclear program like dozens of countries around the world have, where we build reactors that create electricity and we import enriched material. And we've made very general, I'm not going to get all the details of the offers, but there are other avenues here that would be acceptable to them. If that's what they wanted, if what they want is a civil, peaceful nuclear program, the route has always been there. The problem is that everything they're demanding has nothing to do with a peaceful program. They are all the things you would want if you want to retain the option of one day weaponizing the program.
Okay.
Which has been their clear intent. To me, that's indisputable. I followed this issue for 15 years, including the intelligence on it for 15 years. Okay, I have followed it. And the intelligence, these are assessments, and sometimes they've been wrong.
Bro, he's going hard. God damn. Jesus. Thank God. Thank God.
I've seen them revised multiple times. These guys want a nuclear weapon one day.
Okay,
They
to
do.
that point.
And it isn't going to happen. Not while Donald Trump is president.
Understood. You said this is not about regime change, but you were describing a regime that you have said for decades, I mean, for upwards of 40 years, has chanted death to America, has done all the things you just described. Isn't a diplomatic deal with them a lifeline? Aren't you offering to negotiate with the same people you're saying did all these things? So therefore, are you actually looking for regime change?
These people never understand pragmatism. It's like people are so locked in like the ideological box that they put themselves in that they can't even conceptualize the idea of working towards something even when it's not the best option, but being pragmatic and working with what you have. She's baiting? Yeah, this is again, it's a Reddit argument.
that
moronic
misses the
question.
point.
Yeah.
I don't like that they chant those things, but one thing is that they chant those things. Another thing is that they chant those things and they have terror proxies are all...
Fucking exactly. Like, yeah, you can deal with some retard who doesn't like you. It's a lot harder to deal with a retard who doesn't like you who has a nuclear bomb.
All over the world, and they have long-range missiles that can reach the United States one day, and they have the potential to be one step away from a nuclear weapon. Yeah, well, one day could be tomorrow, could be a week from now, could be a month from now. You know, all it takes is a flip of a switch. By the way, they're not going to broadcast that to the world. By the time we figure out that they're doing it, you have all...
They're going to announce, guys, we finally made the nuclear bomb. It happened today.
All the pieces in place, okay? It's like
So
you have a gun here and the ammunition. It only takes 1 second. We have other targets that we could hit, but we achieved our objective. The primary targets we were interested in are the ones that were struck tonight in devastating fashion. The ones that were struck, I guess, yeah, tonight over there, their time, in devastating fashion, and we've achieved that objective. There are no planned military operations right now against Iran unless they mess around and they attack American or American.
It literally says fuck around and find out. Okay, well, there it is.
Interest, then they're going to have a problem. Then they're going to have a problem, and I'm not going to broadcast
So
what
there
those
is more targets?
problems are. Then they're going to have a problem. Then they're going to have a problem, and I'm not going to broadcast what those problems are. But suffice it to say, know this. The United States flew halfway around the world, right into the heart of Iran, over their most sensitive locations. These things got rocked. And then we left. And we were out of their airspace. We were over the ocean before they figured out what had happened. And there are plenty of other targets. We don't want to do that. That's not our preference. We want peace deals with them, and that's up to them to decide.
You said
Oh my God, man.
There's only
Jesus.
one genuine certified Star-Lord, and you're
So what we
looking
do?
at it.
Yes. You can see he's fired up over this. This is amazing. Iran already has a nuclear plant in Bashir, and they're building more. USA didn't bomb them, so our question was retarded, as Iran already has civil nuclear use, and it's no problem. Yeah, and that's the plant that has a lot of the Russian scientists at. That's my understanding. At least the last time I checked. Rudolph's a competent and heated guy. Yeah. Then why murder every one of the negotiators? Because they weren't negotiating. Duh. What do you mean?
4, 3.
Well, they want, so, I mean, because you wanted to have the negotiation happen. Okay, it's not happening. All right, well, kill them, get new ones. Eventually, you roll the dice enough times, you'll get people to agree, problem solved. Kinetic democracy.
Oh, they do not look happy.
defend American interests. Would the United States military take action to keep, for example, the transit point, the Strait of Hormuz, open? If there are attacks on oil installations, would the United States consider that a direct act by the state, even if it was carried out by a militia?
Well, I'm not going to take options away from the president. That's not something we're talking about.
We'll see what happens
Right now in terms of being immediate. But if they do that, the first people that should be angry about it are the Chinese government, because they take a lot of their oil comes through there.
Yeah, 50% of the oil comes through there, apparently. The fact that people defend Iran's radical extremist government blows my mind. Like how? The reason why is because they're Westerners that live in comfortable, safe, Western privileged societies, and they literally cannot even comprehend the way that they live over there and the way that the governments exist over there. That's like, for example, do you remember like when all of those weird retards were going to march to Gaza and then they got stopped in in Egypt, and then they're like, well, why is it okay that we can do this in America though? These people have no concept of this. They can't even imagine. Was just thinking that?
They should be the first ones that are saying if they mine the Straits of Hormuz,
why are you here?
the Chinese are going to pay a huge price. And every other country in the world is going to pay a huge price. We will too. It'll have some impact on us.
Yes.
Have a lot more impact on the rest of the world. A lot more impact on the rest of the world. It would be a suicidal move on their part, because I think the whole world would come against them if they did that.
Will the Chinese and Russians stop trading with Iran?
You have to ask the Chinese and the Russians.
haven't asked
Probably
them?
not. I mean, they're getting, the Russians are getting a bunch of these, these drones that they're using are coming from Iran.
Exactly.
They're coming from Iran. So I saw the foreign minister, instead of meeting with Steve Witkoff, is headed to Moscow to meet with Putin, which is a pre-scheduled meeting, which is fine. They can go meet. And, the Russians at the end of the day, I mean, they buy drones from them. But look, this is very simple. we want to have an agreement with them, a diplomatic agreement in which they have a thermonuclear program that are not enriching and don't have weapons-grade material or weapons-grade capabilities laying around. That's that simple. That's our interest here. Who they trade with, who they deal with, those are other topics. Our objective here is very straightforward.
This was a non-issue until Trump needed an issue? You think this was a non-issue? I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Can't keep me down for long.
They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not even going to get close to a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, I had no idea.
They're not even going to be in the neighborhood of a nuclear weapon because these people are dangerous. This is a radical Shia clerics who run that country, and they are the source of all instability in the region, all of them. Without Iran and this regime, there is no Hamas, there is no Hezbollah. Well, because we don't want them to have a nuclear
weapon. Of course you're going to negotiate with them. Like, I love how she tries to get that off. Like, it's somehow, like, bro. It's like Reddit logic. Yes, obviously, the reality is that, of course we do figure out and come to agreements with terrorist groups. Obviously we do, because it's easier and cleaner for everyone. Bro, you don't get it. Yeah, bro, you don't get it. No, you don't understand. You don't understand, man.
Okay, but
that's the core objective. But I'm going through the things they've done because that's why they can't have a nuclear weapon. Okay, they sponsor Shia. They sponsor these Shia militias, Hamas, Hezbollah, all these other terrorist groups. These people are never going to get anywhere close to a nuclear weapon.
For the Americans at home who are going, are we at war? You know, I'm trying to suss out some of the facts here. So, why would Iran agree to any peace deal if the United States has already pulled out of one that they had, as President Trump did in 2018, and now has launched 2 surprise attacks? Both Israel and the United States have done so. There is such a massive trust deficit there. How could you?
Because they want to live. That's the reason why. It's the same reason why Japan surrendered in World War II. You meet the enemy with opposing force that is so oppressive, so overpowering, that they have no choice but to surrender. That's obviously the option, out of fear. Yeah, exactly.
Possibly
but the trust deficit started with Iran.
Yes.
I know.
Well, the trust deficit, the ones that shouldn't be trusted are the Iranians because they're the ones that sponsor terrorism. Did they forewarn us before they blew up the embassy in Lebanon and killed over 200 American servicemen?
Jesus.
Did they forewarn us before they built IEDs and blew the legs and arms off of American servicemen in Iraq? I mean, these are the people that are doing this forever. They're the ones that no one should trust. They're the ones that have lied about their nuclear program.
But
they're the ones that have hidden things from the international organisms.
But that sounds like we're headed towards regime change, or the desire to get these people out of power. Are you?
No, a serious foreign policy is one that's focused on identifying what our national interest is. You don't have to like the regime. There are a lot of regimes around the world that we don't like, okay? But in this particular case, what we are focused on is not the changing of the regime. Okay, that's up to the Iranian people if they want to do that, but that's not.
Declaration of war made by Russia made Japan surrender, not nukes. Look it up. You're right. I'm sure the nuclear bombs didn't have a single effect on Japan surrendering in World War II. For sure. Definitely.
To help him solve this, Tony.
Not what we're focused on. Our national interest is about one thing, and that is Iran not getting anywhere near the capability to weaponize and have nuclear weapons. They're not going to get anywhere near that capability. The president has made that clear from day one. Our preference for solving that problem, that very specific problem, is through diplomacy. We've said that. We've given it every opportunity. They played games. They tried delay tactics. They're trying delay tactics now on the Europeans because of the snapback provisions.
When did
and you
the
talk about
president
the
make
JCPOA, that was a crazy deal.
When did the president make this decision? Because he said he was giving 2 more
They
weeks
just
of
keep
diplomacy
asking the same
on Friday,
thing.
and on Friday, these jets took off.
Well, the president retains the opportunity to pull out of this at any moment, including 10 minutes before. But the president ordered options. The decision, in my view, was made when he wrote a letter to the Supreme Leader, and he said, over the next 60 days, we want to do a deal with you and solve this problem of nuclear weaponization. We want to do it peacefully. If after 60 days we don't see progress or it isn't solved, we have other alternatives. He made that very clear. I think what some people are struggling with here is that we today have a president who does what he says he's going to do. And that's what happened here. And hopefully the Iranian regime got that message.
We're going to hit a commercial break, so I have to wrap you there.
Yeah, there it is.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bro, just trying to shut it down. You're so obnoxious? Yeah, I know. Exactly. It took them 40 years to enrich 60%, but they make us believe that they'll get to 90% next week.
Well, the reason why it took them 40 years is because we kept trying to push them back.
And also 60% is what was detected. It means that that's the baseline. There were also other readings and other people that said that they had registers of 80%.
Not sure how we'll solve this.
Yeah, there's a video right there. And 60% enrichments, 90% of the way there. Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't like a test or something like that, where like it's like there's a curve to this very clearly. And let's see, I read this. Do you think the phrase "we don't negotiate with terrorists" is dead now? Well, it was never alive. Obviously, you negotiate with terrorists all the time. Sometimes you have to, sometimes you need to, sometimes it's in your best interest to. But I mean, I'll tell you this. Like, I definitely before I go into part of this, I want to say that like I totally think this interview was great. Like, I was very, very happy about seeing this. And yeah. Secretary, I have no questions left and get cut to Marshall. Yeah, they have 60% now registered because Israel's been hitting them for 3 decades. Yeah, of course, right? And think about if they hadn't been, they probably would have already had the nuclear bomb themselves. And so that's the reason why you don't want to let that happen.
You've captured more than half the mission area. Keep going.
We just got brand new details about Operation Midnight Hammer from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
We got
screenshots here with me at the Magic Wall to break this all down and about what we know is retired Colonel Cedric Layton. Colonel, thank you so much for being here. Take us through this mission, because it had been in the planning for quite some time.
It really has, Manu, and this is the graphic that the DoD provided us with this. So they started, they've been planning this for, in some ways, for over a year, and in other ways they've been doing exercises that kind of did the same thing for up to 2 or more years.
Oh, wow.
But the key thing is this: the actual operational planning really started a few weeks ago once the direction came from the president to do this kind of thing. So when they left Whiteman Air Force Base, they did it basically right after midnight on the 21st of June, and then they came through and struck the targets in Iran about 18 hours later,
so
18 hours and 19 hours later, and they hit the 3 sites that we've been talking about before. These are the ones that, of course, have become famous now: Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. And these are the ones that, of course, not only because they've been in the news, but because of what they had, became important from an operational perspective to actually eliminate. And that's why they had the kind of payload that they did on the V2.
And there's been a lot of discussion about the Fordo facility in particular. And the Pentagon says they've obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. But Fordo in particular, how hard is that to capture?
So take a look at this right here, Manu. When you see this perimeter right here,
shit.
And then in just a second we'll get some more details here because you've got the support building and tunnel entrances. This is way deep underground, almost 300 feet underground. So when you look at the layout of this,
I thought each bunker buster went 200 feet and they dropped 12.
You've got those tunnel entrances that I talked about, that support building, and this mountain covers the centrifuges. The centrifuges are the key part to them doing what they need to do to, in essence, enhance the uranium to get it to the level that they need. So when you look at what this looked like before June 20th, this is what the fuel enrichment facility looked like from a satellite view. Now take a look at what happened here. Every single thing that you see here has been actually changed a bit. When you look at this, the June 20th slide, take a look at the facilities up here and over here. Now look, this is gone. This right here is also gone. So these are the kinds of things,
oh my
the
God.
facilities up here and over
I didn't even realize that. Look.
Here. Now look.
It's just not there anymore.
This is gone.
Like literally fucking erased.
This right here is also gone.
Holy shit.
So these are the kinds of things that happen. And another thing that's really interesting about this, take a look. This is that support building that we showed earlier. Everything looks intact. These are the tunnel entrances. Now let's take a look. When you go over here, you see that these tunnel entrances have been damaged beyond repair. There's what appears to be smoke damage right here at the support.
Well, here's what's so crazy about it. It's the fact that the explosions very clearly penetrated right here. there's no penetration holes anywhere in this area at all. So that means the explosion that happened here ended up collapsing the entire tunnel all the way over here.
But it worked out for everybody.
You see what I'm
30
saying?
seconds before you attack. Get ready.
That's a lot of power. Yeah.
According to my scans, we're going up against some real heavy hitters.
Building, and then when you look here, see these things right in this area, right here. These are penetration holes right where the bombs hit. And when you look at, there's actually a further one when you go this way, right up in this area, right here, which shows that there are very key, precise impacts.
So if they shot it here, and you had collapses all the way over here. This is a satellite footage, right? I mean, this isn't like a guess. This isn't a conversation. It's not an extrapolation. You see it right here. It's booked. Why is there 3 holes? So they dropped 12 bunker buster bombs. Each B-2 bomber had 2 of them. So they probably dropped both of them at the same time, or maybe one, and then, you know, like they have like these, I'm assuming probably like, you know, laser fucking focus guidance systems. So one of them gets probably almost all the way in, and then the second one goes all the way in. 14 bombs? No, but no, I understand there's the 14 bombs. 12 of them were used on this site, 2 of them were used on another site. So only 12 were used here. There were 14 total, but only 12 were used. That's why you see 6 holes.
That they struck. The idea here was to get at the centrifuge and use it with multiple bombs so that they could go down deep enough to eliminate the possibility of them even enriching the uranium.
And we'll see if they've done it. The Pentagon says this thorough evaluation is still ongoing. And meantime, there's this concern, real concern about retaliation from the Iranians against U.S. assets in the region. There are a lot of them.
I'm surprised that Trump, as the content president, didn't have a camera there to record it. And I'm not even kidding. Like, the fact that, like, they didn't have a drone over there to watch this shit happen, I'm kind of mad about. Like, he did? Well, I want to see it. Maybe it'll come out? Yeah, I mean, because, I mean, they've got to show, I mean, because that would be badass to watch, right? I mean, again, like, these are, like, this is literally everybody's tax dollars. We have spent billions of dollars on this shit. Don't we at least get to watch a video? It's bullshit. They needed to record it somewhere. Yeah, the montage, yeah, tweet it out, do something. Classified?
Thousands of troops.
Yeah, basically 40,000 troops throughout the Middle East, Manu, and especially concentrated in the Persian Gulf region. What's across the Persian Gulf? Iran itself. So that means that it's within missile ranges of not only the long-range missiles, obviously, but short-range missiles as well, as the Iranians could easily lob into the areas such as the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. So those are the kinds of things that our forces have to worry about from a force protection standpoint. But each one of these areas really makes it very clear that every single one of our troops is definitely within range, but that doesn't mean that they can't defend themselves. They will be able to defend themselves if the proper measures are taken. And
well,
if we
I mean, there's also, like, the other component to this is that I don't think that Iraq and Saudi Arabia and Qatar necessarily want Iran bombing the U.S. embassy there or the U.S. military base there. Because, I mean, from their perspective, these are Iranian missiles and bombs going into their country. So I haven't had anybody bring this up. I don't think anybody's brought this up at all. But, like, there's a massive diplomatic problem there when Iran just starts indiscriminately shooting missiles into these other countries and being like, oh, well, we're just trying to hit the American base. I don't think that these other countries are just going to be like, oh, okay, understandable, we get that. Yeah, nobody said that. Iran said that sleeper cells in the U.S. and the Homeland Security issued a statement of warning of heightened threat environment. More justification for why it was the right choice. Wow. So they have all these terrorist sleeper cells. Uh-huh. Huh. Sure seems like we made the right call there then.
Have the right intelligence when it comes to Iranian intentions.
Yeah, that's everything that the U.S. is watching for right now, that next step the Iranians may take. Colonel Layton, thank you so much for breaking this all down for us.
You bet, man.
Wolf, back to you.
All right, Manu, joined now by CNN national security analyst Beth Center. Beth, thanks so much for joining us. What kind of intelligence gathering is happening right now to ensure that the Pentagon's original assessment that had been made public, that these Iranian assets...
I'm really surprised. I feel like any time that any of these other bombings have happened, like there's just been like so many videos. And like with this, it's like there's nothing.
For obliterated is actually accurate.
Right, so there are going to be multiple different kinds of sensors and overhead imagery.
This could be the 2026 Air Force recruitment video. The funny thing is that you might actually be right. They might be saving it for a recruitment video to release it as like a big trailer or something like that.
As well as trying to maybe listen in on what people are saying. The Israelis have a human network of spies. So all of these things will come together in the intelligence community. We call it all source intelligence. We're taking things in from everywhere we can to put together a picture of what happened inside that hall. But in addition to that, everybody, at least all of us on the outside, are asking the question, where is all of Iran's highly enriched uranium and their centrifuges? Can we say that with these three